Commissioner meeting. Today's January 20th, 2021. We'd like to begin, if you'd all rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our first item tonight on our agenda is approval of the minutes of our last meeting.
I had no changes. I think they were all good.
Same here.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the, was that the 4th? 6th?
January 6th.
6th commission meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Our item 2 is the introduction of Gary Springer, manager of Red Tail Jet Center. Is that the right name? Or is it aviation?
Red Tail Jet Center is our new flag.
Okay. Well, why don't you come up to the microphone and introduce yourself. And
I'm Gary Springer, and I came to Price in the fall of 2019 to help support the USU flight program that started here as an aircraft mechanic IA to perform preventative maintenance and correct pilot-initiated discrepancies and perform annual and 100-hour inspections as required. And also to fulfill the obligation of the contract with Red Tail to provide general aircraft maintenance at the Price Airport. Angie Johansson, who's been big, she wears a big pair of shoes that I have to fill. She announced her retirement last year, and so I took her position as a manager January 1st. And so I just wanted to, I reached out to Mr. Commissioner Hopes to introduce myself and put faces to names and let you know what's going on out there. You know, if we do this on a monthly basis or any other kind of correspondence.
Okay.
So.
great. We appreciate you guys helping us there at the airport. That's
Yeah.
Quite a investment that's been made in our community, and Red Tail provides the effort out there to make it work.
Yeah.
So so really, as you perform your duties, you're there to help when aircraft come in with problems or schedule
Absolutely.
something.
And there's been a few transients that have maintenance issues or can't have trouble using the self-serve, and I'm usually there. If I'm not on the clock, I'm doing other things, and so I've been able to help a lot of transient aircraft that had issues that are trying to get from California to the East Coast and whatnot. Anything from a small single-engine piston to twins to twin-engine corporate jet aircraft I've had in the hangar. We had an Apache. They were doing a big operation down in the Green River area back in October, and there was an Apache that had some issues, and I was able to help and get them in the hangar and provide any kind of resources that they needed to get them back in the air and on their mission. So.
Sounds like a handy guy.
Well, I've got, it's another hat now, or two hats actually, with Angie retiring, and so I originally was asked to come up here to support the maintenance and start the maintenance, get the hangar set up. Red Tail invested, I was given a budget, and we invested about $8,500 to get the hangar up to speed as far as getting the maintenance going for equipment and tools. And so COVID came in March of last year, And so we had 24 employees. We went down to 5. And Angie and I were the only ones left in Price. And so she was part-time, and so basically it's just I've been the only one out at the airport since March of 2020. And so had quite a few hours of overtime during this last 2020 season. Fortunately, we hired back one of our part-time employees, and so he's been able to fill in for me so I can take some days off and focus on doing inspections. The last 100-hour inspection I was trying to get done for USU, it was a busy week and trying to fuel and quality control stuff for, the fueling operations and parking, marshaling aircraft, answering the phone. Figured it'd be a good idea to have somebody cover in the office so I can focus on getting the inspections done, so.
Well, good. We appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
Any questions for Gary?
No, same, I echo that. It's good to have a partner out there at the airport. I think exciting things are coming, not only from what you guys do as well, but the university and how hopefully that program's gonna grow, the aviation and the mechanics, so.
Yeah,
Glad
Yeah.
to see we've got some good, strong folks out there at the airport.
yeah, I appreciate it, and it does that. The airport has huge potential out there. It's the 4th longest runway in the state. It's got the ILS localizer approach, and so that's a big. It brings in the bigger jets that just want a fuel stop because the airport can provide those capabilities.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Gary.
Maybe, Casey, could you give an update a little bit about the university and the efforts they've already achieved and where they're trying to get with their program here?
Sure. So in 2019, I believe it was, they brought in the flight program, and that kind of went into 2020. They've been able to expand that program. I think they have 3 planes here now, 2, and they're looking at a 3rd. Because of the popularity of the program, and they want to continue to grow that. So the flight side of the program is growing really well. In addition to that, and as soon as we can get all the puzzle pieces put together, they want to bring the mechanics side of that program down, which would probably bring another 20 to 40 students, depending on the number of classes that they're able to offer. And it would help expand what they offer and provide a full service. They're even talking about bringing different types of planes rather than just the single engine smaller planes, but maybe some larger planes, and do more flight training because they would have more options here. So
Do they do their schooling at the airport or at the university?
So it'll be a little bit of both. There are 2 classrooms that are in the main hangar upstairs that they're currently using for the facility for the flight training programs. Some of the programs, when they bring the mechanics side here, some of that will happen on the main campus, but the majority of it will happen out at the airport where they will take apart planes that are out of use. They'll take apart the engine, put it back together, try it out, not on a flight, but maybe taxi it around the runway, or even just put it on a block and run it in the classroom setting. So there'll be a little bit of both at the university for some classes, but the majority of them will be out at the airport.
Thank you. It's a good update for everybody in the county. Item 3 is a consideration and a possible approval of Department of Human Services contract. Shelley?
Hi, Commissioners. So this came across your desk a few weeks ago. It was a e-signature that we were required to sign, and anyway, we just ratified it, and that's why I'm here today to answer any questions about the contract. It was a grant that I wrote. It's one I've had for several years now. It funds my home visiting program at the center. I originally wrote this grant for about $110,000 to help fund move a position from part-time to full-time, so have 2 full-time positions. But because there was only $150,000 awarded to Eastern Utah, Eastern region, it was anywhere from Carbon, Emery, Grand, San Juan, Uinta Basin. So I had to share the money. So they awarded us $70,000, $35,000 this first year, which is for 6 months, and then after that it'll be $70,000. And then on the 3rd year, the amount may change depending on what's left and what hasn't been spent. So I'm hoping that maybe additional funds will be increased on the 3rd year. So.
Any questions for Shelley?
I don't. I know grants are part of the system and what you have to deal with out there, and appreciate you following these up and,
Thank you.
and pushing to get as much as you can. So
Okay.
hopefully you never hear that when you're asking for a grant, but it's always a win.
Thank you.
Appreciate all you do out there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Shelley. Anything, Casey?
Nope, I'll make a motion to ratify the signing of the Human Services contract.
Have a motion?
I'll second that.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thanks, Shelley.
Item 4 is a consideration and a possible approval for a county credit card for Gillen Bishop, our new Carbon County assessor.
Commissioners, we had a meeting today with the department heads, and we talked about a few things, and Seth, you brought up a good point as far as the tax ID numbers and all. I guess that's a standard that'll be on all credit cards moving forward.
Yeah, yep.
Just wanted to make that, point that out, but I have no problems with issuing a new credit card for our new assessor.
Okay. Can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the credit card for Gillen Bishop.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Item 5 is consideration and possible approval of the Carbon County Fiscal Year 2021 Community Impact Board list, including the new Southeastern Utah Association of Local Governments building. So we approved one of these a few weeks ago, but the Association of Local Governments wanted to add a new potential building into that priority list, so they've added that in.
And if I could, I'll just explain
You
that
bet.
building a little bit. I think a lot of people know that they're currently on Carbon Avenue and 4th South in the old Reeves building, and they're looking, let me back up, they're spending a lot of money on upgrades, roofs and foundations and a lot of upgrades they're trying to do that facility. They're looking at or entertaining the thought of building a new facility out on some county land, which is out by the fairgrounds, and they need to be on this CIB list in order to request money from the CIB. And yes, we did talk about this somewhat, but this is making them officially part of the request, so they can go and approach the CIB board for some money to build a new facility.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I think it's a good thing.
Let's have a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion then that we approve the Carbon County Fiscal Year 2021 Community Impact Board list, including the new Southeastern Utah Association of Local Governments building.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 6 is review and possible adoption of resolution number 2021-01, approving renewal of the enterprise zone designation for the unincorporated areas of Carbon County. Rita Vigor, our Economic Development Director, will Tell us what this is about.
So the enterprise zone is a designation that communities are responsible to, or the state asks the communities to designate, since they know the areas that could benefit from the enterprise zone tax credit better than the state. And so part of that process is having a resolution authorizing the designation of the area. Historically, we've designated certain portions of the unincorporated areas of the county. With this time around, we have decided to designate the entire unincorporated areas of the county, so that all businesses can take advantage of that benefit. In the past, like if somebody was in an ag business and their business was based out of their home or outside of those areas that were designated before, they were not able to take advantage of that tax credit. So understanding that in the past we've designated like commercial and industrial areas, that we have missed some businesses before. So we are, when we put the application through, we've designated the entire unincorporated areas of the counties. And I worked with each of the cities other than Price City. They had already done theirs, to have theirs designations done as well. So basically what it does is if a company is looking to invest in equipment or the renovation of a building that's been vacant for more than 2 years, they could qualify for a tax credit that is only applicable if you have this designation done. So we have to ask you as the governing body to pass that resolution so that we can, the businesses in the unincorporated areas of the county can take advantage of this program. Does that make sense at all?
I think so. Any questions for Rita?
I don't have any questions. I think it's a good program, and it can help quite a few businesses, so.
The designation will be 5 years. The program is actually being phased out. So this is the last time that we can actually even do the program because they're eliminating it as of right now.
And you mentioned that you had also helped some of the cities. I know some of them collapsed, and you helped them to kind of reinstate their enterprise zone standing. So this would just be basically closing it up for us in this whole area.
Yes.
Carbon County, the unincorporated and the cities.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good thing, and it's very helpful.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-01, approving the renewal of the enterprise zone designation.
Have a motion, do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
The only thing I was going to say is that to finish our application, and the process for that, we just need the resolution, the signed resolution, and at least draft minutes to send to the Governor's Office of Economic Development. So just so that everyone's aware.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 7 is consideration and possible approval of the Federal Aviation Administration grant application for the Carbon County construct snow removal equipment, or an SRE building at the airport.
Commissioners,
Casey,
if
you
I
wanna
can,
start with that?
yep, if I can take just a minute. So every year, we receive an entitlement from the federal government to maintain our airport. Each year, we can opt to take that entitlement and do a project, or we can loan it to another airport, and then they can do a larger project, and then in following years, we can receive their entitlement plus ours and do a larger project. And we've banked, in essence, we've banked some money, and we have some, we were able to purchase a snow plow with some blowers that will help us maintain our runways a little better during the winter, especially with our aviation program out at the airport. But we don't want that sitting out. We've identified a spot, and we would like, or it's my goal to use our federal entitlement that we banked and build a building that would house this the new snowplow that we have. And this is basically the grant application to be able to, just like every grant, they review it. Most likely we'll get the money unless they see something major with it. We have an engineering firm that helps us with the grant application as well as the construction. And that's a firm that we contract with. Every 5 years we have to go out and contract for, because of the FAA requirements, you have to do it every 5 years, and they have to, and then they're your engineer of record for the next 5 years at the airport. So, questions?
And if I could too, this snowplow equipment is just new to us.
You're right. It's new to us, but it's I think it's an 80s model, but it's in good shape. It's got fairly low miles or hours on it. They go by hours, not miles. When you're running up and down a runway, you don't get a lot of miles, but it has a lot of life left in it. But it does a better job than what we have, and it'll actually be better for our runways than what we were using before.
And it's large. It's a large piece of equipment. The building will need to be pretty substantial.
Yes, it's a very large. It's basically a semi-truck with a trailer behind it that has all kinds of blowers and attachments and the blade on it is 22 feet wide, or 20 feet wide. It's a 20 feet wide
With a 20-foot brush.
with a 20-foot brush, so it'll handle a lot of snow at one time.
I can attest to that. It makes really quick work of clearing the runway and the taxiway and the ramps. It's like night and day. From what I understand, what the county paid for that piece of equipment compared to new, huge bargain. Huge bargain. It came from Wisconsin, so.
Yeah, it's a type of snow plow and broom equipment that they have at the large airports. The broom will really help keep debris off the runway so that the planes landing won't end up sucking something into their engines.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. Any further discussion? Let's have a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion then that we approve the Federal Aviation Administration grant application for the Carbon County Construct Show Snow Removal Equipment, SRE building.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Commissioners, if it's okay, that was sent to me in a DocuSign. So if you're okay, after this meeting, I'll go ahead and make sure that gets signed and sent off so the application can get submitted.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, we have one update. I've invited Brady Bradford, looks like he's on the phone, from the health department. Are you available now? So we're really appreciative of Southeastern Utah Health Department, who has carried the heavy load with this COVID crisis through the last 10 months, and now that the vaccines have become available, I think there's a lot of questions, and we thought it might be appropriate for you to come and update the community, and hopefully we can get this in the paper to help people understand what's happening and what's next and when they might be able to get a vaccine.
I appreciate the commission inviting me in, and it has certainly been an adventure for all of us. This is, for us, a more exciting time because we do feel like we're providing, instead of a service that seems restrictive and we're talking about quarantine and isolation, this is the thing as we administer vaccines that will lead to an opening up. Just quickly, as of last Friday, we had received 1,080 vaccines and administered 1,119. And these are all district-wide. I don't have county-specific numbers right now, but you can generally assume it's by population. So about half of those would be Carbon County. That doesn't include partners, our hospitals and those long-term care facilities that have been vaccinated. If we include those, those that have received their first vaccinations, probably about 2,000 district-wide, and near 1,000 in Carbon County. And up to this time, it included those individuals that worked in healthcare facilities, first responders, long-term care facility employees and residents, and now those that are 70 and older. For us, that's a population of about 5,500 people, and we receive an average of about 400 doses per week. So it is, I know those that have been able to get appointments, they're in and out quickly. They've appreciated that. There's a lot of frustration from those that haven't been able to get an appointment either on our website, which we encourage, or we have a waiting list for those that call in and have a harder time navigating through the website that we also assign as they call in. So it will take us a number of weeks to get through the population that's anxious to be vaccinated, and our highest risk population, when you consider 70 plus, makes about 3/4 of our hospitalized individuals, both locally and statewide. But as far as our vaccine clinics go, they've been very, very smooth. Our only really holdup is the number of vaccines we receive today. For example, between our 3 offices, we'll have administered about 300 vaccines in really about 3 hours in each office. Our max capacity is somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000 per week, and we're way far away from getting that amount delivered to us. So while we're hopeful for the future, it's going to require some patience until manufacturing has ramped up to a point where we're getting instead of 400 a week, 1,000 to 2,000 doses per week, and can really push through the population quicker. We believe we're most of the way done through our healthcare and first responders group. There's some stragglers out there that we get in. We are just under halfway done with our school districts, and just barely started with our 70 plus group. So a long way to go, but we're hopeful. We're grateful for the patience of the community, understanding that it's going to be a little bit longer, and I'd love to answer any questions you might have.
So you get 400 in for the 3 counties a
Yes.
week right now.
Yeah, and they're essentially split by population.
Okay. And so you're able to, you're given teachers now. You've got about half of them done. Are you trying to get them done before you start in on the 70 and older?
Well, we have started our 70 and older. Administratively, it makes it a lot easier to just close out one group, so to speak, and then offer all of our doses to the other available groups. So that's the call I was on. I was begging and bartering just for a few hundred extra doses, just so we could finish them and then open every slot to a 70 plus age group, and then as that continues to open up to other ages as well, just make that general public.
Does that include both shots? From my understanding, at least from what I'm hearing, some of the vaccines will require 2 shots 2 weeks apart. Is that including the second shot?
So we have received only Moderna vaccine, which requires a second boost dose at 28 days. Those are all held in reserve and sent to us, and we have our boost doses will be given next week.
Okay.
So we've only done first doses so far.
And I know there was talk, I haven't heard of it here, and maybe you could educate us a little bit on this. There was the skeptics out there saying there's going to be all kinds of side effects and chips and all the other crazy things, but have you had any side effects or anything there? Maybe you could ease some people's fears.
Yes, so a very common side effect, well, pretty much everyone will end up with a sore arm for a day to 2 days. We have had locally our most common side effect, and this is probably between about 10 and 15 people have had a rash and redness appear anywhere between 1 and 7 days after their vaccine that lasts for a couple of days. It's a little bit painful, and it's been itchy. And that's been our most common side effect. I know statewide there have been a couple of reactions that required an ambulance. That's typical for all vaccines. It's generally an allergic reaction for those people. We have not had any locally, and we're grateful for that. We do understand that once you get your second dose, you can expect 12 hours of discomfort and some muscle soreness as your body kind of adjusts to that second round. But we haven't given any of those yet, so we don't have any first-hand accounts. The good news is that we are reading as well that we're maybe underselling the effectiveness of this vaccine, that we hear about 95%, but it's in terms of reducing severe disease, the effect of severe disease, it's nearly 100% effective. So even if you do develop COVID after being vaccinated, it will be mild symptoms. In the trials, these numbers won't be exactly right, but of 34,000 patients, only 1 developed severe complications, not from the vaccine, but they were infected at a later time and had severe disease. Everybody else, either no disease or just very mild symptoms. So it does appear to be effective, incredibly effective, more than we're giving it credit for. And additionally, where was I going with that? I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry. Yeah, it is working, and I'm also happy to report, just on a case level, our general trend seems to be pretty positive, which we're happy about. Fewer and fewer cases as the weeks go by. We're not ready to drop our guard yet, but certainly encouraging.
With that being said, is there a possibility of dropping to a moderate range with the three categories that we have to meet, or are we still a ways away from that?
We're still a little ways away. Our percent positivity is hovering about 18% in Carbon County, and the number of positive cases, though it's drastically down, is still fairly high, fairly well above what the state's benchmark is. And then the other benchmark has to do with how many ICU beds are full statewide, and that has started to inch back down, but it's also a ways away. So we need to meet two of the 3 of those, and so we'll really need to rely on local caseload and percent positivity rate. So still several weeks, I'm guessing.
Okay, thank you.
It's encouraging, though, the numbers of people that are getting it each day are down, have been for a long time.
Yeah, and every time we have a clinic, I just can't help but run those numbers and say that's a bunch of people that really have really reduced risk at this point, and we're happy about that.
Yeah. So maybe one more time. Right now, for folks 70 and older, they can either go online to your website and sign up there, or they can phone your office and do it over the phone.
Absolutely.
And get on the list.
Yep.
Okay. So perfect. So there's some older people that don't do the internet stuff very well. So
Yeah, and that's something we learned really quickly after the first week. It was online only. It was a very small group just to test our scheduling system. Really quickly learned that there's a lot of people that just don't feel comfortable there, and we're happy to accommodate them. Though even with our waiting list, with the waiting list, they'll need to be a little bit patient. It'll be a couple of weeks before they get a call back.
So do they talk to somebody?
Yeah, they'll talk
So
to
that-
somebody.
But then you can't give them a date until you get the vaccine and can schedule them a time to.
Yeah, we really need to know. We're trying to project about 5 weeks out of what we're gonna get. Those numbers change quite a bit. We generally have a minimum number, but as soon as we know, right now we know through February 3rd, we should know by tomorrow, middle of February, maybe even the end of February, and so we'll open up additional slots.
But people need to be patient.
Yeah, we've we made it almost a year so far, just a little bit longer.
Okay.
Can I ask one question? After somebody gets their second vaccination, when do they say you become immune after receiving the vaccination?
It's generally been 14 days after the second vaccination,
14 days, okay.
but we do know there's protection right after, protection starts almost immediately and builds up after the first vaccination, and then just kind of top it off, make it complete with the second.
So the vaccine we're getting is the one that doesn't have to be kept in a frozen state. Is that right? And this
Yeah.
is a little different.
It's just, we keep it in our normal kind of we have a commercial freezer there, but it is fairly normal temperatures. The Pfizer vaccine has to be kept below 70 degrees, below zero, or some absurd number. We haven't had to deal with it, so I don't know exactly what it is. We do know that we have made arrangements that we can store it locally, if we have that possibility to get those doses as well. So we want to be able to receive as much as we can, but they just haven't sent those our way yet.
At this point, there's no other place someone could get a vaccine other than directly from the health department. Is that correct?
That is correct. Certainly recognize that we'll have partners that will be valuable in this effort, but there aren't enough vaccines right now to be spread around to make it worthwhile for a pharmacy or another clinic to kind of ramp up to deliver those. Again, we would need to have our deliveries increased by a significant amount to start to tax our ability to give those.
And these are free.
Yeah, there's no out-of-pocket cost. We are collecting insurance information at the moment to potentially bill just solely insurance for an administration fee, which would be fairly nominal. We have not billed any insurance yet and might not do that. We're waiting for some instruction from the state on what they want us to do there. So it's just precautionary, but we don't ask for anything from someone that can't pay, and we're glad that it's that way. We just want to get them in to the people that want it and need it.
Any other questions for?
Appreciate you
Thank
coming in, Brady,
Yeah.
and sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Brady.
With that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned.
Sorry, I didn't mean